Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Well, earlier today, I spoke to an excited Remain-supporting politician who thought that the close election is the end of Brexit. It can't happen now, he said. For the moment, that is a minority view, given the fact that the two leading parties are still committed to it. But the election does complicate things. One, because the government has less authority and needs parliamentary support from elsewhere. And two, because the mandate for Theresa May's version is far weaker than anyone expected. Will we start again? Do we know where we're heading? It was March the 29th that we handed over the letter invoking Article 50 and the countdown to Brexit began. We should probably have had our election before the clock started ticking, but hey, what's done is done.
Article 50 process is now underway.
However, what we thought had been done was a Tory plan for the negotiations. To die-hard Remainers, that no longer feels like a done deal. So, is a softer Brexit possible or even likely now? Well, the first route to one could be via the Democratic Unionists. The DUP support Brexit, but they could say they want a softer one as a condition of supporting Theresa May.
I mean, there could be pressure that makes the Prime Minister herself want to change the line she's taking, or if she depends on more people for her majority. Quite interesting that the DUP, who she's talking about, don't say no deal is a better option than a bad deal. That's not in their manifesto. They talk about getting a deal. They talk about working sensibly with the European Union.
Order! Order!
Then there's a second route, the Commons, a new parliament with new MPs and their own new mandate, and a weakened Prime Minister. Now, most MPs, given a free choice, would probably opt for a far softer Brexit than the Theresa May one. But MPs won't be given a free choice, so it'll all come down to the Westminster maths. If there's a reliable Tory DUP arrangement, well, it'll have an effective majority of about 16. That majority will include some unreliable Tory MPs like Ken Clarke or Anna Soubry, who might well rebel. So the outcome would all hinge on how many others there are like them.
A formal parliamentary process, though, is quite hard to envisage that doesn't involve at least some people being prepared to bring down the government.
No one knows right now whether MPs will comply or not when it comes to Brexit. But we do know this is not just about the UK. There's 28 of us in this relationship. What do the others think? Today, the EU President congratulated Theresa May with a reminder to get a move on. There's no time to lose. I'm fully committed to maintaining regular and close contact, he says. Those others may not give us more time.
Brussels is ready to negotiate, and they're very ready, and they have all the negotiators, and they just need somebody to negotiate with. And it doesn't look like Britain is able to start negotiations in 11 days on very good terms, is it? We know that Britain needed some stability and, yes, a strong mandate to negotiate Brexit, and it doesn't look at all stable from a European perspective.
It's a year since the referendum, and guess what? We're still not clear about where we're going. Well, our diplomatic editor, Mark Urban, spent the day in Brussels. He joins me from there. So, Mark, is the feeling that soft Brexit of some form is more likely with a weakened Theresa May?
Well, Evan, I've got to be the harbinger of bad news, I think. There are optimists and there are pessimists. I think the pessimists are the more dominant in this town. This sort of get a move on idea is because people here are very conscious of the complexity of the negotiation that effectively has to be done in about 15 months before early autumn next year for various reasons. And the longer this goes on, if, for example, there has to be a whole rethink in London before they start negotiating in earnest, the less likely there is to be a deal at all. I think there is more fear of a sort of chaotic end to these negotiations. Remember also that if there is a real move in Britain towards something quite different, then those statements you heard in your piece about, well, the European point of view is we're ready, Well, they're all ready for something else, which was Theresa May's original conception of Brexit, e.g. no single market membership, and would have to go back to the 27 member governments to completely rethink the EU negotiating position. That said, there are some optimists who take a slightly more positive view, if you like, and think, well, you know, maybe we will get something much closer to the so-called Norway option or something like that. And one person I was talking to today, there was a very interesting slip. He referred to Brexit, or whatever it's called, by the end.
Mark, negotiations are meant to start on Monday, is it Monday week? Do people really believe that's going to happen?
Well, once again, EU is saying we're ready, let's get cracking. But some fascinating things you hear here. For example, there's no agreement yet, I'm told, about where it'll actually be and where the regular meetings will take place and the press conferences afterwards, that type of thing. So there's a lot to be done in a short space of time, if indeed they are to start on Monday week.
And Mark, I mean, the worry that you've mentioned of no deal by the end of the 2 years, I mean, obviously they could extend the time if every single party to this agreed. Is that a serious worry?
Yes, look, they could extend the time. I think the other thing that we could see as this process develops is an increased emphasis on the so-called transitional arrangements, the importance of there being no cliff edge for European industries, of course, services as well as UK ones, and using the transitional package as a way of just dealing with the immediate Article 50 issues and then accepting the other issues will take a lot longer. But, you know, let's think about what's got to happen in the next 15 or so months, particularly if it's much harder to resolve, to get a majority around a particular negotiating stance. We heard John Prescott earlier in the programme, and the possibility of the Tory party fracturing. You know, it's quite possible that some sort of deal is agreed that the UK Parliament wouldn't then vote for.
Mark, thank you very much.
I've been